What would you do if the man you trusted most betrayed you at the exact moment he should have been by your side, not days before, not weeks after, but while your body split open to bring his child into the world? When Anna's water broke at 3:12 a.m., she didn't panic. She laughed. A tired, hushed laugh, one hand pressed over her swollen belly, the other reaching to shake her husband awake. It's time, she whispered, tears in her eyes, not of fear, but of joy, of hope. And Tom? He groaned, rolled over, muttered something about needing more sleep before the big day. She chuckled then, too, mistaking it for nerves. She didn't yet know that while she was bleeding into sheets at the hospital, he'd be tangled in someone else's arms, whispering to another woman the same lies he once whispered to her. Do you think betrayal starts with a kiss? No. It starts smaller than that. With glances he no longer gives you. With silences that feel heavier than words. With the shift in how he says your name or stops saying it altogether. Anna had felt it for months. The way Tom's eyes drifted over her, barely registering the stretch marks, or the waddle, or the way her back arched in pain. She'd catch him scrolling through his phone at dinner, laughing at someone else. When she asked what was funny, he'd just smile too quickly and say, "Nothing. Work stuff. Work. Always work." Still, she swallowed it. That cold nod of suspicion. Isn't that what we're taught to be the understanding wife, the selfless mother, the woman who forgives even when forgiveness hasn't been asked for? Anna was tired, but she was strong. She packed her hospital bag alone. She arranged the nursery, folded the onesies, stitched back together every piece of herself that his distance had torn. She told herself he was stressed, that he'd come back to her once the baby arrived, that things would be okay. But sometimes the universe cracks open right at the edge of hope. At the hospital, contractions came hard and fast. The nurse gripped her hand, coaching her through breaths, while Tom paced at the far end of the room, glancing at his phone with a nervous twitch. "You can come hold her hand," the nurse suggested. "I'm not good with blood," he said. "Coward!" But Anna didn't say it. She winced and bit back the word like it was a sin to be bitter while giving birth. She bled. She screamed. She bore down with everything inside her, and when the baby-crowned Tom wasn't even in the room, he was gone. You might think he stepped out for coffee, to take a call, to breathe. No, he was gone. Later they would check the security footage. Later she would find the Uber receipt. Later she would stare at the timeline, her body trembling, milk still dripping from her breasts, and realize that while she was split open on a hospital bed, he was inside another woman. The same woman she'd seen once, briefly commenting heart emojis under his photos. You know the type. The kind of woman who laughs just a little too loudly, who posts quotes about manifesting divine masculine energy while secretly hunting for someone else's. She wasn't the villain, though. She was just the mirror reflecting back every ounce of weakness Tom carried. Anna didn't scream. She didn't throw things or beg. She held her baby, a daughter, in her arms and felt something colder than rage, something ancient, reckoning. The nurse asked, "Have you picked a name yet?" Anna smiled. "Yes," she said, her voice like silk sliding across glass. "Her name is Clara." Clara, the mistress's name. The woman who had slept with her husband while Anna lay in a pool of blood, bringing life into a world built on lies. Do you understand what that means? It means Anna chose not to scream. She chose to etch her fury into legacy. To lace her daughter's name with fire wrapped in lace. To make her husband wake every day and say that name. To force him to hold his shame swaddled in pink. Some women rage, some women break things, but some, they name their daughters after their husband's mistress. And those are the women you should fear most. The first time Tom said the baby's name aloud, he flinched. Just slightly, like the syllables had claws. "Clara," he whispered, reaching out to brush her cheek. The newborn squirmed, tiny fists balled tight, oblivious to the storm her name stirred. "She's beautiful," he added, his voice cracking on the word. Anna watched him from the hospital bed. Her eyes dry, her body wrecked but upright. She didn't answer, just let the silence curl around them like smoke. He didn't ask why she chose the name. Of course he didn't, because to ask would be to admit what he had done. Instead, he played their role. Proud father, doting husband, posting filtered photos of the three of them pretending that nothing had fractured beneath the surface. He wrote captions like, "My girls and welcome to the world, little miracle." But every time he typed the name, Clara Anna could feel the tremor in his fingertips. She didn't need to say anything. The punishment was already breathing in his arms. What would you do if the person who betrayed you had to face your silent knowing every single day? Back home, things were too quiet. The nursery glowed soft and lavender. Bottles lined the counter. Tom took 2 weeks off work paternity leave, he said, as if he'd earned it and stayed in the house like a ghost, tiptoeing around Anna, trying too hard. He brought her tea she didn't drink. He offered foot rubs she didn't want. He watched her breastfeed with a reverence so forced it made her skin crawl. And still she didn't say it, didn't accuse, didn't ask. But late at night, when the baby finally slept, Anna would lie awake and listen to his breathing, sharp, uneven, and wonder if he could feel her anger bleeding through the walls. You see, there's a kind of rage that doesn't scream. It whispers. It poisons every moment of stillness. It lives in the spaces between your words in the way your eyes won't meet hers. And Tom was drowning in it. He tried to reclaim the upper hand. One evening, while Anna sat rocking Clara, he cleared his throat. "You've been distant," he said. She looked up, her eyes like mirrors, flat and cold. "Have I? I want us to be okay." She didn't reply. Tom's voice grew more urgent. "Anna, if something's wrong, do you love her?" she asked softly. The question struck like a blade through paper. He froze. "Who?" Her lips barely moved. "Don't insult me." And just like that, the air shifted. The performance cracked. Tom sat down slowly on the ottoman beside her. His hands trembled. "I made a mistake." No, he had made a decision. Anna didn't look at him. She stared at the baby instead, so small, so still, wrapped in the soft cotton of a onesie that said Daddy's Girl. The irony made her nauseous. "You left the hospital," she said, her voice like wind brushing glass. "You left me alone, while I was bleeding, while our daughter was born." "I didn't mean," he began, but she raised a hand. "Don't you dare explain." He was crying now, silent, shoulder-shaking sobs. The kind of crying that once would have moved her cracked open the part of her that longed to comfort, to soothe. But that part of her had died somewhere between contraction number 12 and the phone records she later found. She stood, baby in arms, and walked past him. "You don't get to make this about you." He followed her down the hallway. "I want to fix this. I'll do anything. Just tell me, what do you want from me?" Anna turned slow and deliberate. "I want you to say her name, every day. I want you to look our daughter in the eyes and remember what you did. I want your guilt to grow up with her." Tom's lips parted, but nothing came out. You see, some betrayals don't get closure. Some wounds don't scab. They stay raw, pulsing just beneath the surface, waiting. And in that moment, Anna realized something deeper. She didn't need him to fall on his knees or beg for forgiveness. She didn't even want revenge in the traditional sense. She wanted clarity. She wanted the world to reflect back to him exactly who he was, through lullabies, through school forms, through birthday parties and ballet recitals. Every single time someone smiled and said, "Clara's such a beautiful name. Where did it come from?" And he would remember, every time. The affair hadn't just ended his marriage. It had named his child. In the months that followed, the house filled with the quiet chaos of new parenthood, bottle sterilizers humming late into the night, the smell of warm milk clinging to every surface, lullabies echoing down shadowy hallways. But beneath the lullabies lived something else, something colder, something wordless. Anna had become a master of silence. She wielded it like a blade, subtle, precise, leaving no visible wounds but cutting deep all the same. She didn't need to scream at Tom. She didn't even need to argue. Her silence told the story over and over again without pause. Every polite nod, every glance that passed through him instead of at him, every time she walked past without touching his arm, without asking him if he was okay. It was a language only the guilty understood. You'd think he'd leave, that the guilt would hollow him out, that eventually he'd pack a bag drive to the Mistress to Clara the original and run away from the tension that thickened their air like smoke. But Tom stayed. Not because he loved Anna, not really, but because he was afraid of what her absence might reveal about him. He played the father. He memorized diaper schedules, read articles on sleep training. He smiled in family photos and captioned them with cliches. But every smile looked like a grimace in disguise, because when you destroy someone who loved you purely, you lose the ability to trust your own reflection. Anna was not the same woman he had married. That woman had dimmed herself to make room for his ego. That woman apologized for her own needs. That woman believed that love meant enduring pain in silence. Now, she moved like glass over stone, unbreakable but sharp. She didn't cry in the shower. She didn't drink wine to numb herself. She didn't vent to friends or post cryptic quotes online. She simply endured, but not as a victim, as a witness to everything. The affair, the lies, the pathetic little cover-ups, the way he still flinched when someone mentioned their daughter's name. It was all cataloged in the archive of her new mind, a mind that had been burned clean by betrayal. You might ask, why didn't she leave? But the better question is, why should she be the one to go? This was her house, her child, her body stitched and broken and mended again for a family he had shattered. And she was done cleaning up after his mess. So she stayed, but she stayed on her terms. Tom slept in the guest room. There were no more shared dinners. Conversations revolved only around Clara feeding times, pediatric appointments, milestones. They were roommates now, caretakers of the same child, but nothing more. And Tom felt it, the weight of her detachment heavier than any scream. He tried once, just once, to fix it. He booked a weekend trip, left the printout on the kitchen counter with a handwritten note, just us, to heal. Anna didn't even glance at it. The paper stayed there for 3 days. On the 4th, it was gone, not in the trash, not torn up, just gone, as if it had never existed. That's how she punished him, not with vengeance, but with erasure. He was becoming invisible to her. And nothing is more terrifying to a narcissist than losing the mirror that reflects them. There were rumors. Of course there were. His co-workers whispered. The mistress posted cryptic things. Karma is a woman in heels. He left, but never really arrived. You can't steal what doesn't want to be kept. Anna saw them. She saw it all. And she smiled. Because she knew the mistress had expected her to explode, to unravel, to become the crazy ex-wife. But instead, Anna had named her daughter after her. And that kind of revenge, it has no antidote. Every time Clara's name was called at the pediatricians, at daycare, at birthday parties, it echoed louder than any confrontation ever could. Some names are curses, some are spells, and some are quiet knives slipped between ribs twisted with elegance. Anna wasn't just surviving, she was orchestrating. Every lullaby, every milestone, every Instagram post that tagged Tom with his daughter's name in it. It was all part of the same quiet campaign. She was rebranding his shame into legacy. And he couldn't escape it, because love can end, but parenthood, that's forever. The first birthday was the final thread. Pink balloons floated against the ceiling. The house smelled like vanilla frosting and warm candles. Children shrieked and giggled in the backyard. Parents hovered with plastic cups of lemonade, smiling, trading polite small talk. On the surface, everything looked perfect. But you know how grief sometimes wears a smile? That was Tom. He moved stiffly through the crowd, holding a tray of cupcakes, his eyes darting toward Anna again and again. She stood beneath the pergola Clara on her hip, wearing a soft, ivory dress that caught the sunlight in quiet defiance. People gravitated toward her, not just because she was beautiful, in that effortless, exhausted mother way, but because she radiated a calm that made others feel safe. But Tom, he looked like a man bracing for a confession. You see, something had shifted in the last few weeks. Anna had become lighter. Not in appearance, motherhood had carved deep lines beneath her eyes, but in spirit. She laughed more, not with him, but with herself. And nothing unsettled him more than the realization that she no longer needed him. Do you know what it does to a man like Tom when the woman he thought he broke stops seeing him as a threat? It unravels him. As the cake was brought out pink and round with a single flickering candle, someone asked, "So how did you pick the name Clara? It's so elegant." The question was tossed innocently like a balloon into the air, but when it landed, it pierced. Anna turned to the group with a soft, dangerous smile. "Oh, it just came to me while I was in labor," she said, her voice smooth as silk over glass. "Some names burn themselves into you." Tom choked on his drink. No one else noticed. Or if they did, they didn't say anything. But Anna saw. She always saw. Later that night, after the guests were gone and the streamers drooped and Clara was asleep, Tom cornered her in the kitchen. His eyes were bloodshot. He reeked of self-pity. "Why did you do that?" he whispered. "Do what?" "That name thing. You told them it came to you in labor. You were making a statement." Anna rinsed a plate. "Was I?" "You've been punishing me for a year." She looked at him, then really looked, and said the one thing that would break a man like Tom. "I'm not punishing you, Tom. I'm just done needing you to feel anything at all." That landed like a gut punch. Because there's something final in emotional indifference, something colder than hate. Hate still requires energy. But apathy is the graveyard of love. He stood there, mouth opening and closing, searching for a foothold for something to throw back. But she was already walking away. And in that moment, he understood he hadn't lost her when he cheated. He hadn't even lost her when she found out. He lost her the second she realized her silence had more power than his apologies. Have you ever seen a woman outgrow the man who tried to keep her small? It doesn't happen with fireworks. It happens in the quiet moments, when she starts to sleep better without him, when her laughter returns not forced, but from the gut, when she looks in the mirror and sees someone she recognizes again. And one day Tom came home to find her things gone. No note, no fight, no warning, just absence. She had waited, planned, saved, and then left with precision, like a surgeon removing a tumor. Clara's crib, gone. The little rocking chair, gone. The faint scent of lavender from the nursery, gone. What remained was silence, but not the kind she used to wield like a weapon. No, this was different. This was freedom. The apartment she moved into was small, barely 2 bedrooms, cracked tiles in the kitchen, a leaky faucet in the bath, but to Anna it felt like a palace. No ghosts, no lies in the walls, no man pretending to be someone he hadn't been in years. Just her Clara and the quiet promise of a future built on truth, not performance. She hung sheer curtains in the living room, painted the walls a soft sage green, put Clara's crib near the window so she could watch the light change through the seasons. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. And do you know what peace tastes like when you've lived under constant emotional erosion? It tastes like coffee sipped in solitude, like not having to justify your pain, like hearing your child giggle in the morning and realizing no part of that joy is tied to fear. Anna didn't block Tom. She didn't erase him. She let him visit once a week, supervised, polite. But the difference now was staggering. Before he was a presence in her space. Now he was a guest in her world. He brought toys, tried too hard, spoke too loudly. He called Clara Pumpkin the way he used to call the Mistress. It made Anna's stomach twist with something halfway between pity and disgust. He thought showing up once a week would fix it. Thought taking Clara to the zoo and buying her plush giraffes made him a father. But he was parenting out of guilt. And children, even toddlers, feel that. They absorb that. One day, Clara reached for Anna instead of him. Tears streaming down her face after a skinned knee, and something in Tom's eyes cracked. The illusion shattered. The role he had clung to as father, as savior, as central figure no longer held. She had become her mother's daughter, not just in biology, but in trust, in connection, in safety. You see, Anna wasn't raising her to repeat the cycle. She was raising her to break it. No more sacrificing yourself to keep someone else's ego intact. No more shrinking to fit someone's insecurities. No more calling betrayal a rough patch. Anna was raising a girl who would recognize love that doesn't make you question your worth. One evening, after Clara had gone to bed, Anna stood on the balcony of their little apartment, arms folded, watching the sun collapse behind a row of buildings. The sky was a bruised kind of beautiful, streaked with gold and violet. She breathed deep. The air was different now. It didn't carry his scent anymore. A notification buzzed on her phone. A message from Tom. "I still love you. Can we try again?" She stared at the words for a long moment. Not angry, not afraid, just still. And then she typed only 2 words. "We're done." She didn't send paragraphs, didn't explain, because sometimes power is in the brevity. And just like that, she released him. She let him sit with his choices, not because she wanted him to suffer, but because he needed to finally face what he had become without the comfort of her forgiveness to soften it. Some women scream to be heard. Some burn everything down. But Anna, she simply walked away, leaving him to sit in the silence he once weaponized. And that silence now, it belonged to her. To every choice she would make, to every breath that no longer caught in her throat, to every bedtime story she read to her daughter, unbroken, unburdened. She had nothing to prove, no audience to please, because the woman who knows her worth doesn't beg, she watches. Then she rises,